Hello friends, and welcome to Text Messages. This past week, the governor in our state extended the length of time that we are to shelter in place. And that's hard. Lots of people are having a difficult time simply staying at home, and some people can't simply stay at home. There are those who have to go to work, and they struggle with this sheltering in place in a different way. They struggle with the fact that they may be putting their lives at risk or the lives of their family by going to work each and every day. So I've been thinking a lot about sheltering in and found a verse of scripture that I'd like to share with you. It is Revelation chapter 7, verse 15, and it's the very end of that verse where he says, "And the one who sits on the throne will shelter you with his presence." Be sheltered in the presence of God. What safer place could there ever be? God is everywhere. There's no place that God cannot be. And that means that there's no place that we can be where we could not be sheltered by God's presence. It's a wonderful imagery, but it's also a wonderful promise to be sheltered in the presence of God. But just because we know that doesn't mean that we feel that presence. A couple things about that. One, just because we don't feel God's presence does not mean that God is not with us. God is always with us, and God's desire is to shelter us in His presence. Try praying and asking God to shelter you in His presence. Sometimes just knowing that we've had that conversation, that God has heard our prayers, and that God is sheltering us in His presence brings us strength and confidence. The other thing is to bathe ourselves in Scripture, especially those Scripture verses that talk about God being our refuge and our strength, God being our sheltering place. I don't know how you need sheltering this week. Perhaps it's fear and anxiety. Perhaps it's boredom. Perhaps it is a fear of others not being able to shelter at home. Perhaps it's your thoughts, or perhaps it's your heart. The fact of the matter is, we all are struggling in different ways today. And we all need God's sheltering presence in our lives. Would you share the different ways that you have been sheltered by God? Would you share your favorite scripture verse that talks about God being our refuge and our sheltering place? There's so many of them, especially in the book of Psalms. The one that you share may be the exact verse that someone else needs to hear today. God is sheltering us in His presence. Until next time, this is Susan Mitchell with Text Messages.